Someone you trusted hurt you, not a stranger, not someone you barely knew, someone you opened your heart to. Someone who sat at your table, who knew your story, who had access to the parts of you that you do not show to everyone. And they used what they knew, or they left when you needed them most. Or they said something behind your back that reached you from a direction you never expected. Or they smiled at your face and worked against you in the dark. And the worst part is not the pain itself. The worst part is the confusion. The way betrayal scrambles everything, the way it makes you question not just the person who hurt you, but yourself, your judgment, your instincts. The part of you that said, trust this person, when apparently you should not have. You trusted and you were wrong, and now you are carrying both the wound and the self-doubt, both the grief and the anger, both the loss of the relationship and the loss of your confidence in your own ability to read people. This is where we want to meet you today. Not with easy answers, not with a quick spiritual formula that promises to dissolve what happened if you just say the right prayer, but with something that is actually true, that is actually powerful, and that, if you will let it settle into the places where the betrayal actually lives, will change how you carry this. Here it is. God saw everything. Every word that was said about you when you were not in the room. Every action taken against you in the dark. Every moment when someone who claimed to love you chose themselves over you. Every tear you cried alone afterward, in the silence, when the full weight of what happened finally landed. God saw all of it. Not from a distance, not with the detached observation of someone too busy to be truly affected. With the full, attentive, personally affected awareness of a father watching someone he loves be wounded by someone they trusted. He was not absent from that moment. He was in it, and he has not forgotten a single detail of it. Augustine of Hippo knew betrayal, not the abstract, theological kind, the real, personal, it came from someone I loved kind. He knew what it was to be left by people he had invested in, to be misrepresented by people who had access to his story, to watch loyalty dissolve into something ugly and personal, and what he discovered in those seasons, slowly, painfully, but genuinely, was that the God who saw the betrayal was not a passive witness to it. He was a keeper of it, recording it. Letter 2. Recording me from home, with but tenuinely was that the God who saw the betrayal was not a passive witness to it. He was a keeper of it, recording it, working within it, preparing to use it in ways that the betrayer had not calculated. Stay with us, because what we are about to say is going to require something from you. It is going to require the willingness to sit with a truth that is bigger than the offense, bigger than the anger, bigger than the grief, bigger than the very real and very justified wound you are carrying. But it is the truth that heals, and you deserve to be healed. Let us begin by naming what betrayal actually does to a person, because before we can talk about moving through it, we need to be honest about what it is. Betrayal is not simply being hurt. Being hurt is the natural result of living in a world with other people. Disappointment, misunderstanding, conflict, these are the ordinary friction of human relationship. They hurt, but they do not break something. They do not reach into the interior of a person and damage the part of them that knows how to trust. Betrayal does that. Betrayal targets the trust itself, because betrayal, by definition, requires access. You cannot be betrayed by someone you did not trust. You cannot be betrayed by a stranger. The wound is precisely because you opened the door that you do not open to everyone, and the person you let in used that access against you. And the soul, which is a deeply adaptive and deeply remembering thing, notes this, takes careful note of it, and begins to ask the question it will keep asking long after the immediate pain has faded. Is it safe to open that door again? This is the most dangerous consequence of betrayal. Not the immediate wound, as real as that is, but the long-term closing. The way betrayal teaches the soul to protect itself by never fully opening again, to stay near the surface of relationships, to keep the door available but never quite unlocked, to love with one hand on the exit, just in case. And the God who made you for real connection, for the genuine, open-handed, risky, beautiful kind of relationship that requires vulnerability to work, that God is grieved by this closing. Not because your protection is unreasonable, because the closing costs you something He designed you to have. And He does not want you to spend the rest of your life behind a wall that was built by someone else's failure. This is why healing from betrayal matters so deeply. Not just for your peace in the short term, for your capacity to love and be loved in the long one. Now let us speak about what God actually does with betrayal, because this is where the theology becomes practical, where the truth about God's character meets the specific painful reality of what you are carrying. The first thing to understand is this: God does not ignore what was done to you. We sometimes carry a passive picture of God in relation to our suffering, a God who permits things without being affected by them, who watches from a comfortable distance while we bear what has been done to us. And this picture leads to a very specific kind of loneliness, the loneliness of feeling that even God has absorbed what happened to you into the general background of how things are, without any particular response. This is not the God of Scripture. Psalm 56:8 says something remarkable. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book, every tear, collected, recorded, not lost, not overlooked, not absorbed into the general noise of human suffering without particular acknowledgement. Yours, specifically, personally, by name. God keeps a record, not of your failures, though He sees those too and covers them with grace, but of what was done to you, of what you have suffered, of the specific named personal cost of every betrayal, every wound, every moment when someone who should have been safe was not. He knows, dear soul. He knows what it cost you. He knows the version of yourself that existed before that particular betrayal and what changed afterward. He knows what you lost, not just the relationship, but the ease, the openness, the willingness to trust that you have not been able to fully recover. He knows all of it, and He is not indifferent to it. Romans 12:19 says, Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. This is not a small or casual statement. This is God saying, with the full weight of His character and His justice, what was done to you has not escaped my attention, and I do not let injustice stand forever. You do not have to carry the justice, dear soul. You do not have to make sure the account is settled. You are not responsible for ensuring that what was done to you has its proper consequence. God is. And God is far more thorough, far more just, far more capable of true accounting than any action you could take on your own behalf. This is not passive. This is trust. It is the trust of a person who has handed the ledger to the one who keeps perfect accounts, forgiveness, not because the person deserves it, not because what they did was acceptable, not because forgiveness means that what happened was okay, or that there should be no consequences, or that the relationship should be restored to what it was before. None of those things are required for forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to the person who hurt you. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. Augustine understood this, not easily, not quickly, but deeply. He wrote of the burden of unforgiveness as a weight that the person carrying it feels far more acutely than the person it is aimed at. The person who betrayed you has, in many cases, moved on. They are living their life. They may not think about what they did to you with any particular regularity, and you are carrying it every day. In the tension in your shoulders when something reminds you of them, in the way the anger rises at unexpected moments, in the dreams that revisit what happened whether you want them to or not. The unforgiveness is living in you, not in them. And God, who loves you too much to watch you carry something that is destroying you from the inside, is asking you to put it down. Not to minimize what happened, not to pretend the wound was smaller than it was, not to rush the process, but to begin slowly, imperfectly, with God's help, the work of releasing the person from the debt you feel they owe you. Not because they deserve release, because you deserve freedom. Matthew 18:21 and 22 records a conversation between Peter and Jesus about forgiveness. Peter asked, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" And Jesus answered, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. This is not a mathematical instruction. It is a statement about the nature of forgiveness. It is ongoing. It is not a single act, but a repeated choice, a returning again and again to the decision to release rather than hold. You may need to forgive this person 77 times before it feels complete. That is allowed. God does not require that you do it perfectly once and never return to it. He asks only that you begin, and that you keep returning to it, and that you trust Him to do in you, over time, what you cannot manufacture in yourself, the genuine interior release that is more than just the words. Begin, dear soul, even if the beginning is small, even if it is only, "Lord, I want to forgive. I do not feel it yet, but I want it. Help me get there." That prayer is enough to start the work. Now let us speak about something that betrayal often does that we rarely name directly. And that is this: it distorts your picture of God. When someone who was supposed to be safe was not, something in the soul begins to project that pattern outward, onto everyone, including God. The logic runs like this: beneath the level of conscious thought, if a person who claimed to love me could do that, then how do I know that God is different? How do I know that the love He promises is not conditional in ways I cannot yet see? How do I know He will not withdraw when I need Him most, the way that person did? This is one of the most subtle and most damaging effects of betrayal. Not the anger, not the grief, not even the closing of the heart, but the contamination of the picture of God. The way human unfaithfulness leaks into our understanding of divine faithfulness. Augustine wrote about this with unusual clarity. He observed that the soul which has been deeply wounded by human love often has the most difficulty receiving divine love, not because God is less available, but because the soul has learned to brace against love as a protection against the pain that followed the last time it opened. And so God reaches toward the wounded soul, and the soul, without fully realizing what it is doing, flinches. If this is you, dear heart, hear this. God is not like the person who betrayed you. His love does not operate on the same terms. It does not have a hidden condition that, once failed, triggers withdrawal. It does not smile at your face while working against you in the dark. It does not give access to your most vulnerable places in order to use them against you later. Lamentations 3:22 and 23 says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Every morning, not just the mornings when you have earned it, not just the mornings when your faith is strong and your trust is intact. Every morning, including the morning after the betrayal, including the morning when you woke up and the first thought was the wound, and the second was the anger, and the third was the question of whether anyone is actually safe. His faithfulness was new that morning too. He did not flinch from you in your worst moment. He did not step back when the anger rose, or the doubt surfaced, or the wound made you say things about Him that were not entirely fair. He was there, steady, present, as faithful on your hardest day as on your easiest. Let this truth be the antidote to what the betrayal tried to teach you about love. Not all love is like what was done to you, and the most important love in your life, The love that was there before the betrayal and will be there long after it is nothing like it. There is one more thing that needs to be said, and it is about the future. Because the greatest fear underneath the wound is not the past. The past has already happened. What frightens the betrayed soul is the future. The question of whether it is safe to love again, whether it is wise to trust again, whether the openness that made the betrayal possible is something to be cultivated or protected against. And the answer is yes, you will love again. Not because you are required to. Not because healing means becoming naive again, offering the same kind of trust to everyone who asks for it. But because the God who made you for connection has not revised that design based on what one person did. You were made for love. Real, open, risky, beautiful love. And the closing that betrayal tempts you toward is not the answer. The answer is discernment, not the wall, the wisdom. The difference between openness and recklessness. The ability, developed slowly through healing and prayer and time, to recognize trustworthiness when it is present and to recognize its absence when it is not. This discernment is not something you manufacture. It is something God builds in you as you heal. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold, left in a pit, falsely accused, imprisoned. And yet, and this is the detail that should stop us in our tracks, when the moment came, when the reconciliation was finally possible, Joseph did not arrive at it as a closed and protected man. He arrived at it weeping, with his arms open, with genuine love for the very brothers who had done this to him, because what God had done in him through the suffering had not made him smaller. It had made him larger, more capable of love, not less, more able to hold the complexity of human failing with compassion rather than only with bitterness. This is what God is doing in you, dear soul. Through this, in this, not making you smaller, making you larger, deeper, more capable of the kind of love that has survived being tested and chosen to remain love anyway. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Guard it, yes, but guard it with wisdom, not with a wall so thick that nothing can get in. Because the heart that nothing can get into is also a heart that nothing can get out of, and you were made to love. You were made to give what is in you, and the world, the specific particular people God has placed in your path, needs what is in you. Do not let the betrayer take that from you too. They have already taken enough. They took the trust, the time, the peace of the season. Do not let them take the future. Do not let what they did determine who you become. Do not let the wound become the wall that keeps you from the life and the love and the connection that God still has for you. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by the God who was with you in it, who saw every moment of it, who kept every tear of it, and who is, right now, in this moment, working to bring beauty from it. Augustine wrote of the extraordinary things that God brought from the most painful seasons of his life. Not because the pain was good, but because God is a redeemer. It is his nature. He takes what was meant for destruction and turns it toward purpose. He takes the wound and works in it until it becomes a capacity for compassion that nothing easier could have produced. He takes the betrayal and uses it to form in you an understanding of forgiveness and of grace that you could not have arrived at through any other road. Nothing is wasted in his hands. Not the grief, not the anger, not the long nights when the wound was too fresh to see past, not even the season of closing that followed when you pulled back from everyone to protect yourself from more of the same. All of it is being held, all of it is being used, all of it is part of the story he is writing, a story that is not finished, that has not reached its conclusion, that still has chapters in it that you cannot yet imagine. So here is where we leave you today. Dear soul, the person who betrayed you does not get the final word over your life. What they did does not determine what comes next. The wound they left is real. We are not minimizing it, but it is not permanent in the way it feels right now, and it does not define you. God saw everything, every moment, every word. every cost, and He has not forgotten a single detail of it. The account is in His hands. The justice is in His hands. The healing is in His hands. And your future, the love that is still possible, the trust that can still be rebuilt, the open-hearted life that you were made for, that is in His hands too. Give it to Him, all of it, the wound, the anger, the grief, the closed places, the fear of trusting again, the question of whether it is safe. Give it to Him and let Him be, as He has always been, as He will always be, the one who keeps what is given to Him and who makes beautiful things from broken ones. You are not alone in this, beloved. You were never alone in it, and the God who saw everything is also the God who will heal everything, in His time, in His way, completely. Type in the comments today, God saw everything. I am not alone. Let it be the truth you carry out of this place. Let it be the beginning of something. Subscribe and stay with us, dear soul. Come back next week. There is more He wants to say to you. Go in peace, and know that you are held.